Raw Mike Richards, weekdays on Newstalk Sauga 960. And now, from the Bell Lifestyle Studio, here's Mike.
It is 8:40. Raw Mike Richards, News Talk, Sauga 960. We have been talking all morning. Of course, I've been, crapping all over the people who attended the Rod Stewart concert because I went to see Rod, not them. That's just me. But when I look back at when you start talking about live performance, it's sort of an interesting tie I have with my good friend Peter Wildman, who's coming up here in seconds. I think he's just going to click on his camera and join us here. He's got a live show, by the way, that's coming up August the 11th in Oakville, which will be great, no doubt. But when I was a kid still in high school, I was doing stand-up. And so there was a new club that was opened up called Soho at the Mets. And they wanted me to be this warm-up act for the Frantics. Well, I knew the Frantics were. I just, I was kind of new at it, and it was like a Sunday afternoon thing that I had to do. So I was very nervous, right? And of course, at that time, I'm doing all these impressions. But I thought, you know what you need to do? Here's what stand-ups do. They swear. Here's my father on a Sunday afternoon. There's all these people there. I start doing a Jimmy Carter impression and start dropping F-bombs. And my father, the longtime educator and coach, basically almost calls a timeout and said, "Can I talk to you for a second?" Yeah. I might lose the full blue profanity on a Sunday afternoon, especially when you're not the act. People are coming. A little shocking, but when have I not made mistakes? But coming to me now, boy, I got to tell you, Peter Wildman, who I've known for years, we haven't seen each other talked in years. I'm so glad that you reached out.
To be fair, you are the media whore. I'm not.
Well, I don't know.
You'll show up if people are opening envelopes. Come on, Mike. I mean,
well, let me just say though, my friend, that so I'm looking at. So I'm going to go over Peter. We'll take a look at the resume. It talks about, of course, the Frantics and things to do with the Frantics. Yes. But then it says on television, Wildman also appeared on. And I'm looking at it. It's 5 pages long. I don't have that kind of time. I don't have that kind of. You have been on. I think you were on the Beverly Hillbillies. How many shows have you been on?
I was going for Hogan's Heroes, but I couldn't get that one. What other references can we throw in for the kids?
Oh, you just never know. But I'm thrilled to see you, and
I'm so glad you reached back. That was as opposed. Yeah, okay. This is good. This is good. I'm excited. Yeah.
Pete and I, it's funny, and at one point having the same agent from the same agency.
Yes.
It was not FedEx. It was, who the heck was it? Pure Later.
Oh, and yes, Pure Radio.
Yes, and they want us to do like a fake radio show. And I'm sitting there going, well, I kind of, at that point, I wasn't full-time at a radio station. That was one of the times. And so, but I'm in radio. I don't, if you want me to do a radio show, I don't know why we call it a fake. So Pete and I would go on and do this stuff, but it was scripted. And you're looking at two guys who, we really don't need the scripts. Now, I realize it had to do with the little the lexicon, of Pure Later language that we probably didn't know. So, the I-75. And these guys were very aggressive towards us. It felt for a while. Why are they being so mean? But it has been a long time. Now I see. So you're working for Chorus now and have for a long time. Is what?
Yes. The Frantics split up in 88 or 87, 88, and then I did some freelance for about 20 years or so, doing voices and cartoons and all that sort of stuff. And then I turned 45 and the phone stopped ringing because I'm too old. So I had to reinvent myself. So I thought, well, geez, I think I've auditioned and read a couple of hundred radio commercials. So I put myself on 102.1 The Edge as their commercial writer. And that expanded to me being the big creative director, big shot at Chorus Entertainment now. So happy guy. I'm happy.
Well, that's fantastic. And the family's good. Everyone's good.
Yeah. I just have to remember I just count heads. As for birth dates and stuff, I'm terrible at that. But I'm good.
Well, let me ask you this too, because when you when you look at the Frantics of the time where you guys really dominated, so before really Kids in the Hall,
you're
right?
being very generous.
No, it was. I mean, this was at a time where I take a look there, where when you would look back at the comedy troupes that have sort of come after that.
Yes.
Canada, would you have considered it at the time, even though we're considered funny people, some of the brightest and funniest that are in radio and television and movies, they're Canadian, but sometimes we're not great to our own people as an industry at home sometimes, which is why it always seems like a lot of guys jumped, and a lot of people would have jumped from Toronto or Vancouver, Montreal, and they make it big in the States and then come back. You guys, for the most part, I believe almost 100% stayed in Canada to make it work in Canada. And you did. That wasn't an easy thing to do.
No, I think that times have certainly changed. You can stay in Toronto and have a good career. But there was a time that you did hit a ceiling and you thought, well, I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it big. We did a few trips down to LA, and I remember one day in particular, I was just walking around. I don't know what we were in town for, but I was walking around and I turned to a local and I said, so if I live here, where's my family right now? Where are they living? And he said, it's up, is it the 405 or something? He said something about, he said, he mentioned, oh, is that far from here? Yeah, it's about, I don't know, it's about a 2-hour drive in the morning. And I thought, oh yeah, okay. And I just sort of looked around and I thought, where does my family fit into this? And I thought, I'm not interested in, we're doing that. And so we stayed put. We played, we were big on the comedy clubs. The universities liked us. The corporate world liked our shows. We always, CBC Radio liked us. Yes. There was some TV work. There was enough that we were capable of generating industry product.
Well, the great medium radio, which I've always loved and still almost grossly underused, but when you look back at sort of the air farce that of course was massive on CBC Radio and on the weekends, and that is of course where you guys were there for years, there is something still very magical about creating that theater of mind, and certainly the enormous talent that you guys had in that troupe. I couldn't imagine if there was anything more rewarding where you had like the live crowd and it was being recorded and played on CBC Radio, coast to coast. Those must have been great creative times too, I'd have to think.
It was, and it really pisses me off that they always cut CBC. I mean, CBC Radio runs on a nickel. There's a guy at a card table with a stack of LPs and a mic. That's it. That's his show, and he talks and he plays music. I mean, how simple can you get? And yet they come in and they go, you know what? This is costing us too much money. I think it's a shame that they don't do more live productions like Air Farce and the Frantics. It's not expensive. We reached over 500,000 Canadians with our shows, and we had 300 or 400 attend the tapings.
Right.
So like the people will build the show and they will come. It's terrible. I think it's the monkeys that are running the place, to be quite honest, but it's a
I mean, I agree too, because it's, as I said, there is really nothing in comparison to what you're able to do. So the live audience is getting what's happening, with the chemistry with the troupe that's actually putting it on, but the actual sound, someone does an impression or a character voice, you are put in that place in your mind as you're driving, from Manitoba to Saskatchewan. You're listening to this across the prairies. There is nothing more enjoyable than that. Nothing.
And a perfect example of that was our superhero, Mr. Canoe Head. Who had an aluminum canoe welded to his head while portaging through Algonquin Park. I mean, and that was Paul talking into an empty paint can. But the nation loved that guy. And
they did.
Yeah, actually, there's a brewery in Thunder Bay. Is it Sleeping Giant Brewery?
Yeah.
Thunder Bay. Yeah, they actually make a Mr. Canoe Head beer. So look for that in the LCBO. I hope you still make it. But
that's fantastic. Now, look, the reason you're on here, aside from me just completely enjoying the fact that we get to catch up again, is there's a live show, which, again, we just talked about the magic of comedy live, and I believe Oakville, August the 11th. What is happening there, and where is it?
There's a fabulous place in Oakville called the Moonshine Cafe, and it's seats about 50, 60 people. It's very small. There's no big screen TV. There's no pool table, and it's what you call a listening room. Hugh's Room. You've heard of Hugh's Room, right? You
Yeah.
go there to listen to music, and that's what we have going at the Moonshine. And John, the guy that runs the place, just books some really incredible live acts, all roots, blues, early rock. You want to check it out, the Moonshine Cafe in Oakville. And I play there about once or twice a year. And I have a show coming up August 11. I'll be there with a couple of bandmates, and we'll rip through 40 odd years of novelty tunes that I've written, from the Frantics to whatever I wrote a month ago.
Well, that's fantastic. Now, are you playing for us this morning? Are you teasing
I brought
us?
I did brought my guitar. I'm at my house. Of course, I brought my guitar. But if you want a song, I thought, because you're a bit of a hockey sports guy.
Yep.
I thought I wrote a song called "Bobby Hull Needs a New Toupee," and I thought you might enjoy it. If you want some live music, I can rip this one off for you.
Well, let's do that. This is the always awesome Peter Wildman, and a song that's very sensitive about Bobby Hull's toupee.
Just as a quick footnote, it used to be a great game, sitting on the GO train, and you would play Spot the Toupee. And that's a game, so few of them do it now. It's like you see one and it's like, wow, a unicorn. So this is a bit, I need you to back me up a bit, because the song goes, if you ask, people will say, Bobby Hull needs a new toupee. And if you're listening in your car, you got to shout that too in the song.
Okay.
So
All right.
Here we go. Growing up in Peterborough, my life was never dull. I had a hockey hero, and his name was Bobby Hull. He had a wicked slap shot, beat goalies all the time. But the only thing Bobby couldn't beat was his receding hairline. He tried several hair transplants, but the follicles would not stay. And so in desperation, he bought a blonde toupee. And to this day, that silly toupee still sits on top of his head. Here it goes. If you ask, people will say, Bobby Hull needs a new toupee. Oh, what timing. You got white person rhythm. There, I like that. When he was inducted to the Hall in '83, 11 years after his good buddy Gordy, how handsome he looked in his shirt, with his shirt and tie. But come on, Bobby, that thing on your head looks like something curled up and dyed. His brother Dennis is totally bald, and to him it's no big deal. But the Golden Jet won't admit it yet. He thinks his tooth looks real. And to this day, that silly toupee still sits on top of his head. So if you ask, people will say, Bobby Hull needs a new toupee. Hey, there you go. Guy Lafleur was going bald, got himself a weave. The end result was hideous, not too sure what that achieved. Bobby, you're a great man, vanity, you must eschew. Be grateful you don't look like Eddie Shack, he had a nose for value. Yeah, you kids out there, you just Google Eddie Shack, you'll see why. Yeah, Burt Reynolds wears a toupee, and so does William Shatner, Travolta, Ben Affleck too, but right now that doesn't matter. They spend lots of money to look good for every take. But come on, Bobby, that thing on your head, it looks like such a fake. We can see it, we don't care. You're still a hero with no hair. Your blonde coif has buggered off, there's no need to despair. So throw away that toupee that is glued to your head. Cause if you ask, people will say, Bobby Hull needs a new toupee. Yeah. Or maybe you could donate it to the Hockey Hall of Fame for a really, really weird display. Cause if you ask, people will say, Bobby Hull needs a new toupee.
There you go. There it is. Geez, I just saw Rod Stewart. Now I've seen this. This is oh, great stuff. Now, once again, is there a cover charge or people?
Yeah, there'll be about $10 at the door.
Yep.
And you can do, if you want to do a reservation, it's Moonshine Cafe, kojico.net. Yeah, Google it. It'll they'll happily book you a seat, and it'll be a ton of fun.
Oh, well,
August 11.
I can't thank you enough for joining me this one. We can do this on a regular basis. I mean, this isn't. There's not a lot of pressure filled from this particular radio station. So if you want to come and talk about a neighbor, I'll give you 20 minutes. I mean, it's not a problem.
I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, and it's great seeing you.
Great seeing you too, Pete. You take care, and hopefully we'll see you on August the 11th.
Thanks, everybody. See you later. Bye-bye.
There is the amazing Peter Wildman joining us here this morning. Great catching up with him. He's just true talent and a lot of fun. So if you want to catch him, that is August the 11th out in Oakville at the Moonshine Cafe. I'd like to thank